Hello and a huge warm welcome. My name is Lorraine Davies and I'm the host of this summit, The Expansion, Unleash Your Infinite Potential and Reclaim the Power Within. I am absolutely thrilled to introduce our next guest speaker, the fabulous Elisa Canali. To give you a little insight into who she is an intuitive business mentor, clairvoyant, quantum specialist, and master human design and gene keys expert. And today we are going to be talking about her area of expertise, which is activating yourself in terms of wealth. And we're going to be looking at the nervous system and how you can become safe enough to create the capacity to hold and to receive more abundance in your life. And we're also going to talk about her work that she does in clearing the energy field and recoding it with prosperity or for prosperity. I am so delighted to have you with us today, Elisa. welcome.
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're so welcome.
Thank you for having me.
So I would love us to start with your own journey of expansion, because I know that so many people watching this, they want to know how you got to where you are today, where you are able to hold and to grow in so many areas of your life, from the money side and the wealth activation, but from joy and feeling on purpose. You've had to go through an expansion to get to this point. So give us a little insight into your journey.
So I always say, like, when they ask me, like, how many times do you have? Because my journey actually started when I was 15. And, I've always been spiritually aware and curious. And I started playing, in the quantum field, astro traveling, doing, so many crazy things. Or readings, but then I got scared. I was like, ooh, like that's a lot. Like we have this power. And so I kind of shut down my gift and went into a more like traditional way of doing it. And, I follow the traditional path, like university, top degree, corporate master degree, corporate job, but I was always like feeling not expanded, but constricted. Like I remember, this constant knot of anxiety in my belly, and this feeling of like I don't belong here, but I don't really know where I belong. Because I didn't belong in the super woo-woo spiritual crowd that sometimes I was hanging out with, and I didn't belong in the corporate crowd, because it was so boring and so superficial. Like I remember sitting at the lunch with my colleagues and they were talking about like Big Brother and reality shows, and I was like, what is this? And so I had this constant battle, within myself between I want to expand, but I don't want to be too big, but I don't want to, leave people behind or my identity behind until I had, a really a really intense breakdown in 2017. And I quit my corporate job, and I had like 6 months of sabbatical, crying, on the floor, like, who am I? What am I here to do? What is this? Like, what is even life about? Because I was so attached in my sense of identity and self to I'm an HR manager, I'm an HR business partner, I make this money, and so it had to be really a deep dive into my soul. And that's when I discovered human design, gene keys. In 2018, I found, the online space, and that's where everything kind of started clicking into place and building on top of everything.
That's so fascinating. And I know so many people will be able to resonate with this story of following a path that was not aligned with your true self, because it was what you thought you should do or you had to do, and that's shying away from your innate gift, because it is scary once you start playing in this kind of work and you realize how freaking powerful you are. It is very, very easy to get scared, and to that even we instinctively we want to pull back, which I think is why the work you do around feeling safe is so, so fundamental, because ultimately, we all know that how can you possibly go out and create this really expansive, prosperous, joyful, wealthy, amazing, incredible life if ultimately your nervous system is like wired and you are feeling terrified all the time? You're just not going to take the steps. You're just not going to be courageous enough. So when you start to work with somebody on this kind of work, what's the first step for you?
So there is a lot that goes into it, but basically we want to look at the energetic bodies and the physical body. So we can't just work on one or the other, because things actually, we actually have 7 layers of the body. So things actually happen at the top layer of the energetic body. And when we don't address them immediately at the beginning, they kind of go down and penetrate into the physical body. But at the same time, if the physical body and the nervous system doesn't feel grounded, safe, expanded, we cannot even expand energetically because it doesn't feel safe. So that's where we see a lot of frazzle energy, disconnection, or people who are like very much 5D or 7D, and then they can't actually ground it in the 3D. Mm-hmm. Or the opposite, the one who are very 3D and they cannot create miracles because they cannot expand in the 5, 6D, 7D. You know what I mean? So I do an assessment because I'm clairvoyant, clairsentience, all the clairs, and a psychic medium. I do an assessment on checking like in their energy body and energy field where there is this disconnection, where there is this like leaks of energy, blocks, where the physical body is not feeling safe, where the nervous system is either in fight or flight or avoidant or searching for this adrenaline rush. Like a lot of my clients have been through trauma, and a lot of my clients have this story of being warrior, being this warrior archetype to survive. And so to very difficult childhood and family like me. So they are addicted to this adrenaline rush that is literally like cocaine. It's literally like drug. So they experience this super high and then boom, super high and then boom. And so we really need to work on regulating the safety and the neutrality in the body and in the nervous system.
Yeah, absolutely. And that makes so much sense to me, because I've seen the same. I see the same in my clients, and I can even say, I look back at myself and I could see the same, these patterns that become addictive because you're used to feeling a certain way. And ultimately it's that chemical reaction that happens in our bodies that we get addicted to, and then we go out and keep creating the same circumstances over and over and over again. And I think this is where a lot of people watching this will be able to resonate, because for the call out for this, when I was speaking to people, was I'm looking for the heart-led leaders and the visionaries and those people who know they're made for more. And I think what can happen is you can have this deep inner knowing that you are here for more and that you are capable of more, but then you get on the personal development wheel and you start doing some of the work, and then it just feels like, yay, so I'm having a win, and then a crash back down again. And I think this is where people then choose to recognize that they need to come and work with somebody like you, because they need that that awareness of, well, what is actually causing this problem? Why is it that it doesn't seem to matter how hard I strive for this thing over here, or how much I'm working on my personal growth, that I keep seeing these same repeats in cycle, and that it does ultimately come back to leveling things out for people and helping them to feel safe in that space. So if somebody is sitting here and is recognizing themselves, if they are sitting here and going, yep, that's me, I keep having these highs and these lows and these highs and these lows, and they have this burning desire that they are like so freaking ready to break free of that, what action step could, or who do they need to be, or what's the first step in that process? How could you guide them for their first step?
So, that's a very multi-layered work, but I would say that the first thing is really, bring awareness, and being aware that there is actually a pattern, that there is actually a problem, but without judgment or shame, because a lot of my clients, when they realize it, they feel ashamed, and there is no shame, because it's a way of the body and the nervous system that have developed to protect you. And then we want to look at, a lot of the work I do is, okay, we have realized this, but we don't want to then gaslight or, do affirmation, all these kind of things to avoid the body and to avoid feeling. So what we need to start doing is expanding the nervous system capacity to all the more voltage of energy and emotions and feelings. And that goes through also allowing yourself to feel the contraction, to feel, the shame, to actually feel it, to feel the grief, to feel the pain, to feel the rage. Because when we tell the nervous system that it's safe to experience this, we are also giving more space to experience the opposite side of the range. So more joy, more expansion, more happiness.
Absolutely. And I can totally resonate with this, because I like to think of this expansion as it's a holistic piece. You can't say, well, I want to experience, much more abundance, much more money in my life, but I'm not prepared to experience failure. Yeah. Like you can't, there's no bargaining chip. So I think there's that piece of understanding that actually that expansion and being able to increase our capacity to hold more, you have to be willing to go and to feel and to hold and to experience all of it. And I think that's such a core piece of the work that you do, because that is you need to be able to feel safe. And it's funny because the timing of this is, we love synchronicities, everything happens for a reason. And I literally posted a reel yesterday about, I never used to like feeling failure, because it felt weak, right? It felt weak. It felt like something that I shouldn't feel. And actually, when you give yourself permission and to feel all of that, and to experience all of that without that judgment and without any shame or any guilt, that process in and of itself is helping you to build resilience and build and increase that capacity. So it's fascinating. Okay, so from an energetic field, you've obviously talked about there's seven bodies, and I know that when we had our little chat last week, we talked about this piece that is involved in the clearing work, because I think it's very easy, we talk about in the personal development world about the inner child and doing healing in this lifetime, but I know that with work you do, you acknowledge and you help to clear other aspects that might be in your field. So the karmic aspects, the ancestral aspects. So I'd love to know a little bit more about that work and how it kind of, I know it's quite an esoteric concept, but I'd love to understand a little bit more about that work and how that plays out when you're working with clients.
Yeah, so that's a technique, we can call it, or a system, or that I downloaded in 2019 or 20, I don't remember, like when I was like in deep channeling and meditation. And I work with, my guides that are Mary Magdalene, Jesus Consciousness, Archangel Michael. I have several different guides. And I start kind of channeling this process of that I call psychic surgery and wealth coding. And so basically what I do is that I go into, like, I can see basically my client field from outside and observing like all their level of energies, again, from the body to outside. And then I can see like past lives, I can see ancestral karma, I can see where, how do I say, contract and a vow in a past life was created that is blocking like their flow of abundance, the scarcity. I clear their, there is a lot, especially in the online space, psychic attacks, dark energy, spells, witchcraft. There is a lot of this stuff that is blocking, clients from being more visible, going viral. Like I did this with a client, she went viral, 1 million views on TikTok, it's not just about, the money, but it's about the multi-dimensionality of like the woman and the wounds that she's carrying from past lives, family line, karmic lines, ancestors, and this also present lifetime. Like a lot of the work I do is also on birth imprint, like how they were conceived and how they came into the world.
Wow. I think what's so fabulous about this piece here is that, I think we have this knowing, most of us in this space, I can say, speak for the collective, I think have this knowing that there's something blocking us. And when we get to that point, we're like, it's really frustrating. It can feel really frustrating. It can be really like annoying. And you think, well, like, what is it that's blocking me? And actually, when you can understand that there's so many aspects, so many facets that could be blocking you, but ultimately that all of them can be cleared.
Mm-hmm.
That is so inspiring and so empowering to know that when it comes to this piece of the journey.
Yes.
So I know when we were, when we've been talking a little bit, I would love to talk a bit more about that, talk about money, because I think it's something that, if we look at it historically, it's something that women shouldn't have talked about, and I would love to understand a bit more about how this shows up in your clients when people are coming to you and having blocks around money and being able to hold wealth and be able to grow wealth, and the kind of the symptoms around this really, and the next steps.
So it's funny you say that, because I'm just delivering a program that is called the Money Edit, Wealth Liberation Technique. That is my technique that I've created in 7 layers to, recode your energy, yourself, and your mind for money and wealth. And again, like, I think when we try to reduce the problem to one single element, it's reductive. So there are so many different things, and all the clients are different. But what I've seen is that, first of all, there is, again, a lot of programming and childhood programming and patriarchal programming for women, you know, around wealth and around money, for sure. But also, like, there is a big part around owning their desire.
Yes.
You know, owning their desire for wealth, owning their desire for money, owning their desire for luxury, owning their desire for more. And then when they owned it, actually feeling worthy to receive it and to ask for it.
That lands so true, because those three aspects there of feeling like you can own that, I think and this comes down to how we feel we're being perceived by others, right? Oh, it might look like I'm being greedy or it's selfish or whatever, but actually when you stand in the truth of your power and you stand in and you also recognize, I think the big piece with the money side of things is recognizing that, like, as you said, the inherent worthiness. When we understand we are inherently worthy of everything that we desire, everything that we can dream of and that we desire as already exists in another field, right? That we can choose to tap into. So if we can already dream it and we can already desire it, it is already achievable for us. It's right here, but we have to own that. And to get specific and get clear about what it is that we want, because I think that's the other thing when you talk about things like money, particularly with you working obviously with business owners, is that you see other people online, they're like, I want a 10k month, I want this, I want that, I want the other, and it's like, yeah, but is that your real goal? Or are you choosing someone else's goal and saying, well, that's mine? Because we know that the frequency and the feeling of the goal is so important in this process. Not only do we have to feel freaking worthy of it and know that we are deserving of it and ask for what we want and own it, it has to be a goal that we actually want.
Yes. And then, like, you know, I love to talk about, of course, like feeling worthy of it. But also a big thing I teach my clients is to not equate their worth or worthiness with money. Because that's a vicious cycle, you know? When people online say, charge your worth. And it's like, yeah, but your worth is like limitless. Like you could charge bajillions of dollars. So it's actually about taking money out of a pedestal and realizing like it's not what is going to validate my worth and who I am, but I actually have to feel worthy before, and knowing who I am and reclaiming my power to then, you know, be a match to attract this level of wealth.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Because that, I think that's the thing, is we can pick this goal, whether it's a money goal, or perceive that once we are successful, once I achieve X goal, then I will feel worthy, feel deserving, feel like I've earned it. But as soon as you start making those attachments, you are literally, I kind of almost feel like it is pushing that goal further and further away. Because we're not being in the energy and the frequency of I already have this, and who you are, and embodying who you are as this version who already has this. So there is so much at play when it comes to this piece around worthiness and deservingness about money. But I think when we start to understand that money is an energy, it's just energy, and actually if we can choose to play in the field of money and play with the energy of money and lose the attachment. I think this is something that comes up a lot as well, and you probably experience this with your clients, like an attachment, like a clinging on to when it comes to money, and without the client realizing like the detrimental effect that piece is having. So
Yeah,
no, that's all right. So I think that kind of that clinging on, there's a certain surrendering piece probably in the work that you do as well.
yes, it's a lot. Like a lot of the women I work with tend to be, as I said, like warrioress, and so a lot in their masculine. You know, do, grind, work, hustle, no pleasure. You know, the more I work, the more worthy I am. The more I work, the more money I make. You know, I need to prove that I'm good enough. I need to prove that I'm worthy. I need to prove, and you know, it's exhausting. And when we are in this contraction, and in this proving energy and convincing and suffocating, you know, we don't let space again for the miracle, the quantum leap that to happen. So a lot of the work I actually do with them also is really on that feminine side, in that surrender, in that leaning back, in that allowing, receiving, trusting, and really, because I see money as a masculine energy. So when we actually heal the relationship with the masculine, like the father wound and the mother wound, because it shows up in like either wounded feminine or wounded masculine, how we show up in business and in life. When we can heal that and create a union between the two, because it's not about being hyper feminine either, because if not, like they're like, oh, you know, we need to create that union. That's when we can really learn when to lean forward with our masculine and when to lean back.
Absolutely. So I would love to, like, when we were talking just then and you talked about quantum leaps, I would love for us to talk a little bit about this concept, because I think it's something that's talked about online. You know, your next quantum leap, like, it's something that's kind of thrown around, and I think it deserves a moment or pause or a conversation around, like, what is a quantum leap? How does it happen, and who do we need to be in order to manifest that?
So I have a bit of a different concept, you know, because I believe that in order to have a quantum leap, we need to feel safe in our body and in our nervous system to actually experience it. So if we try to play only at the energetic level, it's not going to work. Or we are going to have the quantum leap and then what I call the quantum crash.
Yeah.
So again, is finding that union between the body and the energetics and the energy. But also I play a lot with my clients and with myself with the concept of time. So when we stop seeing time as a line, you know, linear, like, oh, I'm here and I need to go here. So it feels like we never got there. We never arrived because the line keeps, you know, going and growing. And that's a very, again, masculine way of playing. But when we start seeing that the time is a cycle, is a circle, we understand that we are constantly like experiencing multiple things and dimensions at the same time. And the more we master this, again, with surrendering and not feeling attached to the concept of time, not thinking time is running out, I have to go, I have to fast, I have to be fast, but we play in this dynamic of the cycle. Then this cycle is kind of a spiral that grows, and we quantum leap inside of that cycle. And when we look back, it's like, oh my God, like I was here, but now I'm here at the top of the spiral. Does it make sense?
That makes such beautiful sense. And where we're talking about the aspect of time, I think for so many people, that's the challenge. Taking away the urgency and understanding that their urgency to reach a certain goal, to reach a certain income, to reach a certain experience is a ego, is their humanness that's like, well, I have to experience this by next Thursday. And actually understanding that if time is not linear, if it is a circle, and that your experience, as you said, so many things, it's all at the same time, then you can, because sometimes what we're doing is, yes, we might not achieve a goal on a said date, but also what you're also blocking is the other piece, which is something could happen faster, like a miracle, something miraculous can drop in right now if you understand that is possible, and you're willing to experience that, and you'll feel safe enough in yourself to experience that. And that's really, really, really powerful. So we talked about the element of time in the quantum leaping, and we've talked about like the safety aspect. Is there anything else that, because something that I've heard a lot and that I've worked with myself is this feeling piece, like feeling as if my future version. So is this something that you play with quite a lot with your clients? Is this a piece of the quantum work that you do, or is there something else that we've not talked about that we need to talk about?
Actually, I don't. I don't believe in this concept of feeling as if, because I think I know we are trying to treat the body and the nervous system, and it doesn't work. What I work with is a different concept, that is the expansion of consciousness. And because basically, like, the reality you are seeing right now is a direct representation of what your current level of consciousness is informing the field with. So if you think, if your consciousness think about this object like a mouse, you are going to see it because you believe it exists. And actually, this is just particle of energy coming together that your consciousness is seeing as a mouse. So the more we expand our level of consciousness and we learn how to inform the field of creation and the quantum with this higher level of consciousness, with higher level of awareness and energy, that's when the particles of the universe start to respond us back with a different vibration and reality. Does it make sense? I know it's a bit complicated.
No. I'm like soaking in every aspect, and I know everyone is too. So essentially it's this idea is that our higher consciousness informs our outer world, or is that okay? Amazing. So when we understand that, and when we see it from that piece, then the expansion piece, as you say, comes from increasing your level of consciousness, and that's where it comes from. Okay, so obviously, other than coming and working with somebody like you and getting this support in this, like, what types of things, what kind of modalities, what kind of self-support can people be doing? Because I'm a massive believer that when you're on this journey, that you should be getting the right coaches, mentors, support, guides, everything that you need to help you in your expansion process. But I also believe that we have to take that responsibility for our own process, because I think it's very easy to look at somebody like yourself and you can come at this with the approach of, right, I need fixing, like, please come and fix me. And we need to take that integral responsibility for our own expansion. So what can we be doing to raise this level of consciousness for ourselves?
So it's with the biggest piece I feel is really starting to know yourself. really starting to, what we do, the big work we do in human design and Jinkies is actually this work of deeply know who you are and your shadows and your gifts. So you have to be willing to look at yourself really deeply as never before, and look at your shadows, your beliefs, your emotion, your feelings, like your thoughts, like everything that you kind of buried under the surface or you don't want to see. We need to bring it to the light and to our consciousness, so that we are aware of it, because it's not about like living shadow free or fear free, or it will never happen. We are human, but the more we are actually conscious of it, basically the quantum leap also happen when we shorten the period between awareness and consciousness and shift in frequency. Does it make sense? So before if you before took like 3 days to cry, let's say, because your client told you, I want a refund, that is taking you in a spiral of like 2 weeks of self-doubt, self-hate. When you are more conscious, when you are more aware, when you are in a higher frequency state, that episode touch you, you're like, okay, I feel sad, I feel mad, I cry 2 minutes or 2 hours, and then I move on.
Yes.
Does it make sense?
Yes, and for me that it comes back to what you were talking about earlier, and there's this resilience piece that comes in. I definitely talked to some of the other speakers about grit, especially if you choose to be an entrepreneur and a business owner, then it takes grit and it takes being able to bounce back when this stuff happens. And that's not to say we cover it up and we shut it down. It's to say we experience it, but that we choose, we are conscious enough to recognize what we're experiencing, the thoughts, the feelings, all of that, and choose to move through it rather than staying in that. And I think that is such a huge piece of the jigsaw. And I in terms of everybody watching this, I would definitely take this as like a highlighter point. This is, if you want to raise your consciousness, if you want to be able to expand, attract and manifest more of the abundance and the joy and the prosperity and everything that you want to call into your life, it starts with this self-awareness piece and the being willing to do the uncomfortable work.
Yes. Yeah, 100%.
Oh my goodness, I have had such a ball talking to you, and I know that we could probably talk about this topic for hours, but I would love to ask you, is there anything that we've missed that you're like, they need to know this? This is like a really hard hitting point that we haven't covered, that you think this is what I'm being called to speak about today?
No, I feel, as you said, we could talk for things for hours and hours and hours. I feel that for people, as you said, like who are listening, it's important to realize that we all start somewhere, that we all start at a certain point, and that there is no judgment or shame, like, because there is so much of this, like maybe people listening or seeing, like, I should be further along, I should know better by now, I should do. And that is exactly what is keeping you more separated from money and the reality you want to create, thinking that, where you are right now is exactly where you are meant to be.
That's such a powerful place to leave it, because I think you're so right, especially for everybody on here, because I know that you all know that you have so much inside of you, and that frustration of not being where you said you were going to be or where you thought you should be can be a heavy weight. And actually, if we recognize that, if we approach that from a space of huge amounts of self-compassion and awareness that you are exactly where you're meant to be, as Elisa just shared, like that in itself, that recognition and that choosing that as your truth will help you further and faster on this journey to your expansion. So before we finish, Elisa, where is the best place if people are listening to this and are inspired and they're excited and they want to connect with you and come and play in your world? Where is the best place for them to find you?
So I hang up a lot on Instagram. That is the Canali. And then I have a Facebook group also where I share a lot of value content. And then on my Facebook profile, but I can drop the link for you. And
yeah, that's fantastic. And yes, all of the links, so you can find Elisa will be attached to this video. You will have received them in an email, so please go out and find her, go play in her world, learn from the wealth of wisdom that she has to share. I just want to say a huge thank you for your energy, your time, your wisdom. It's been an absolute pleasure. And to everyone listening, thank you so much, and I'll see you all again really, really soon. Bye-bye for now.
bye.